Shock. During Christmas dinner at my son's house, I suddenly felt ill. Shaking, I went to the kitchen to drink some water and saw a strange jar with a liquid substance. When I read the label, I froze. Then I dialed 911, and that difference between a family celebration and the truth changed everything. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and let us know where you are listening in the comments. The evening news droned about inflation rates when the telephone's shrill rings sliced through my peaceful living room. I fumbled for my reading glasses, squinting at the caller ID. Wayne, my son, never called this late on weeknights. Dad, his voice cracked like a teenager's, though he was 42. I need your help. Urgently. The desperation in those words made me sit straighter in my worn leather armchair. The coffee cup beside me had gone cold hours ago, forgotten like everything else when worry takes hold. What happened, son? Silence stretched between us, filled only by his ragged breathing. Through the phone, I heard footsteps, fast, anxious, pacing across what I imagined was his kitchen floor, 40 minutes away in Royal Oak. I lost money, Dad. A lot of money. His voice dropped to a whisper. $50,000. My hand tightened around the receiver. 50,000. That was more than my entire pension lasted in a year. How did you cryptocurrency? The word came out bitter, self-loathing. I thought I was being smart, diversifying our savings. Joanna doesn't even know yet. The mantle clock ticked steadily, marking seconds that felt like hours. On television, a weather reporter promised snow by Christmas. Normal life continuing, while my son's world crumbled. Wayne, slow down. Tell me exactly what happened. More pacing. A chair scraped against tile. There was this investment opportunity. Digital assets, they called it. The returns looked incredible. 30% in 6 months. I used our emergency fund, our kids' college money, even borrowed against the house. My chest tightened. You mortgaged the house. Not the whole thing, just a home equity loan. 25,000. His voice broke completely now. Dad, they're demanding payment. The creditors, they say if I don't come up with the money by January 15th, they'll start seizure proceedings. I stood up, my old knees protesting. The living room suddenly felt too small. The walls pressing inward. Through the bay window, Mrs. Chen's Christmas lights twinkled cheerfully across the street, a reminder that normal families were preparing for holidays, not financial disasters. Have you talked to a lawyer? Maybe there are options. I can't afford a lawyer. Wayne's voice rose, panic overtaking embarrassment. I can barely afford groceries. Do you understand what I'm telling you? They could take our house. Joanna and the kids would have nowhere to go. The image hit me like cold water. My daughter-in-law's gentle face. Little Lula asking why they had to move. 8-year-old Tommy wondering if it was his fault somehow. Children should never carry their parents' mistakes. There has to be something we can do. I said more to myself than to Wayne. I have some savings. Maybe. Dad, you don't understand. His voice turned sharp, cutting. This isn't a few hundred. This is serious adult money. Life-changing money. The tone stung. When had my son started speaking to me like I was a child? Like my modest pension and careful savings were somehow inadequate. I'm trying to help, Wayne. I know you are. He exhaled shakily. But I need real help, substantial help, the kind that actually makes a difference. Static crackled through the connection. Outside, a car door slammed. Normal sounds of a normal evening in a normal neighborhood, where sons didn't call their fathers begging for rescue from their own stupidity. But Wayne was still my son, and despite everything, the poor choices, the entitlement that sometimes crept into his voice, he was still the little boy who used to help me rake leaves in this same yard, who cried when his goldfish died, who called me his hero. Tell me what you need, I said quietly. The silence that followed lasted too long, long enough for me to realize that Wayne had been building towards something specific. This entire conversation, the careful revelation of details, the emphasis on the children's welfare had been leading somewhere particular. Dad, Wayne's voice changed again, softer now, almost gentle, but underneath I caught something else, something that made my stomach clench with sudden unease. I'm here. There is one way you could help. One real solution that would fix everything." The way he said real solution made my blood run cold. I remained standing by my armchair. The phone pressed so hard against my ear it acted. Whatever Wayne was about to suggest, I already knew I wouldn't like it. What kind of solution? Well, he cleared his throat, and I could picture him running his free hand through his hair like he'd done since childhood, when planning something questionable. "You know how you're always complaining about maintaining that big house. The heating bills, the roof repairs, the yard work." My grip on the receiver tightened. "Wayne, what are you getting at? The house is worth at least $300,000 now. Probably more with the way property values have been climbing. And you're there all alone, Dad. It's too much for someone your age. Someone my age." The words came out sharper than intended. "I'm 68, not 98. But think about it practically." His voice took on that patient explaining to a child tone that always made me want to hang up. "You rattle around in 4 bedrooms by yourself. The maintenance costs are eating up your pension. And honestly, wouldn't you be happier somewhere smaller? Somewhere with less responsibility?" I sank back into my chair, understanding flooding through me like ice water. "You want me to sell my house? It would solve both our problems," Wayne said quickly, as if speed would make the suggestion less outrageous. "You could buy a nice little condo. Maybe one of those senior communities with activities and meal plans. You'd have neighbors your own age. No more worrying about broken gutters or snow removal. And the leftover money would pay for your gambling debts." It wasn't gambling, Dad. It was investing. I shot to my feet again, rage building in my chest like steam in a kettle. "This is my home, Wayne. This is where your mother and I lived for 37 years, where we raised you, where she died. Mom's been gone for 3 years. His voice turned cold, mechanical. "She's not coming back because you keep her bedroom exactly the same." The cruelty of it hit me like a physical blow. I actually staggered, one hand reaching for the wall to steady myself. "How dare you? I'm being practical. You're being sentimental about a building." A building. My voice rose until it echoed off the walls of this building. These walls that held every important memory of my adult life. "This is where your mother planted her roses, where we had Christmas morning with you every year until you moved out, where she taught you to ride a bicycle in the driveway. And now it's just an expensive burden." Wayne's patience was wearing thin, his desperation bleeding through the practiced manipulation. "Dad, be honest. When's the last time you used the upstairs? When's the last time you entertained anyone in that formal dining room?" I thought of Margaret's sewing room, unchanged since the day she died. The way morning light still hit her reading chair by the bedroom window. The kitchen where she'd made my coffee every morning for nearly 4 decades. "You don't understand," I said quietly. "I understand that you're being selfish." The words hit like a slap. "My family is about to lose everything, and you're worried about keeping shrine to the past. A past that's gone, Dad. Mom is gone. Don't you tell me about your mother. She would want you to help us. She would want you to help her grandchildren. But you're so wrapped up in your precious memories that you can't see past your own feelings." My chest burned. The room spun slightly. Wayne's voice continued relentless now. "Think about Lula and Tommy. Think about Joanna. Do they matter less than your empty rooms and photo albums? That's not fair, and you know it. What's not fair is watching my children go homeless while my father sits in a house worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, too stubborn to make the smart choice. Smart choice, as if selling the home where I'd built my entire life was just another financial transaction. As if Margaret's memory could be packed up and moved to some sterile apartment complex designed for people waiting to die. The answer is no. Silence. "Then what?" "No, Wayne. I won't sell my house to pay for your mistakes." "My mistakes?" His voice turned vicious. "You mean my attempt to provide better for my family, to give your grandchildren opportunities you never gave me? I gave you everything I could, everything except the one thing I actually need right now. God, you're exactly like Mom always said, generous with your advice, stingy with your wallet." The lie was so breathtaking, I couldn't speak for a moment. Margaret had never said anything of the sort. She'd been proud of how hard we'd worked, how we'd saved every penny to give Wayne advantages we'd never had. Your mother never. Enjoy your empty house, Dad. Enjoy your precious memories. I hope they keep you warm when you're dying alone in that place." The line went dead. I stood there holding the phone, dial tone buzzing in my ear like an angry wasp. My hands were shaking. My whole body was shaking. Slowly, carefully, I placed the receiver back in its cradle. The silence that followed felt different from the comfortable quiet of my usual evenings. This was hollow, brittle, the kind of silence that follows explosions. I sank back into my chair, but my body wouldn't settle. Every muscle remained tensed, waiting for another blow. Wayne's words echoed in the empty room. Dying alone in that place, as if this house, this home was somehow a prison, instead of the sanctuary Margaret and I had created together. I looked around the living room with new eyes, trying to see what Wayne saw. The furniture was old but well maintained. The carpet showed wear patterns from 30 years of daily life. Family photos covered the mantel. Wayne's graduation, his wedding, the kids' school pictures. Was it really just a museum to the past? My feet carried me to the kitchen without conscious thought. Muscle memory, perhaps, or the need to be somewhere Margaret's presence felt strongest. The oak table where we'd eaten breakfast every morning for decades. The window over the sink where she'd stood washing dishes, humming off-key show tunes. The phone rang again, and my heart lurched. Wayne calling back to apologize, but the caller ID showed Frank Dawson's number. "Roger, you sound terrible. What's wrong?" Frank lived 3 houses down, had been my friend since before Margaret got sick. We'd worked together at Ford for 15 years before retiring within months of each other. If anyone would understand, it would be Frank. "Wayne called," I said, and somehow those 2 words contained everything. "Ah, let me guess. He needs money." "How did you, Roger? I've known that boy since he was stealing apples from my tree at age 7. He's always been impulsive. What's he gotten himself into this time?" I told Frank everything. The cryptocurrency disaster, the threatened foreclosure, the house. When I reached Wayne's final words about dying alone, Frank made a disgusted noise. "That little manipulator, using your grandkids as emotional leverage, then attacking you when it doesn't work." But what if he's right? The question had been gnawing at me since I hung up. Maybe I am being selfish. Maybe. "Stop right there." Frank's voice turned sharp. "You raised that boy, put him through college, helped him with his down payment when he bought that house. You don't owe him your home, because he made stupid choices with his money.